everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be taking a look at Bumkats, issues 1 through 3 by Brien Hart and J.R. Gloyd. Brien reached out to me on Instagram and asked if he could send over some books, and of course I said, heck yeah, I'm always down for free books. These came in the mail. Really wound up enjoying them, and I also got an original piece of art, which is very nice. So thank you, Brien, very, very much for sending these along. And I really, really enjoyed these, so I wanted to show all three of them off and give a sense of what this series is about, and hopefully get some more audience for Brien and JR. The stories are very much like, I would say, old like Tom and Jerry type of cartoon vibe to them. And I think that's one of the things that struck me as I was reading this, is that it's so well done. The artwork's great, the writing is great, the jokes are really funny. I just worry about stuff like this having a market, because it feels like a story structure type that just like people want these, that we're used to, like these Netflix, these things that go on. We're not used to like the old, where it's like one gag that runs over and over every episode, like Monster of the Week type of thing. Which is kind of too bad, because there are some situations like in this book where I think it is still really nice and really well handled and fun. So I want to just give a sense of what that is. It's about two cats, the Bumkats, who are basically just trying to find a home. They're these homeless cats, and they're trying to find a home. And then each episode is them, or each issue, I should say, you could very easily see them as like a Nickelodeon, maybe would be the best way. Like it's kind of in between like Tom and Jerry and Ren and Stimpy. Doesn't go so far as Ren and Stimpy, but it's a little edgier than Tom and Jerry. But you could see this as like a old school Nickelodeon cartoon, where every episode the cats try and find a home. They do find a potential home, and then something goes wrong to ruin it, is like the structure. So that's what you just get introduced to the characters here. Then they get, basically in this issue, they go through a magic portal in a trash can, and they wind up in a magician's house, and they wind up being part of his stage show. And there's the magician's rabbit builds an angsty relationship with them, and is trying to undermine them. And then that all falls apart by the end of the episode. There's some real fun imagery in here, where like as one of the characters gets disappeared, the way he comes back out is another character farts him out. So that's what I'm saying. It's a little more edgy, like Ren and Stimpy with the potty humor. But still has a little bit slightly more old school feel than that. So just really funny scene here where the character farts out, and the cartooning on that is like, oh my god, that's so awful. This reminds me too of Bill Ray's Big Baby. Is that what it's called? There's a book I remember getting from my uncle when I was younger, Giant Baby or something like that. Kind of a Ren and Stimpy vibe thing. Just really fun when they come back here, and they're basically like having to go back to the alley. They find this party with the flies and rats and a bird going on in their old box that they're in, the Free Kitties box that's been tipped over, that's now their house. So funny, but also really sad. The next issue follows suit. It's a Christmas story. You start with a really, really great mimicry of Charles Schulz's Peanuts called Chestnuts. Really, really fun stuff here. That seems like it's just a one-off little joke, but then as you turn the page, you realize that the Bumkats are in the snowman that's in the Chestnuts cartoon. So that's really funny. The characters eventually meet Santa. They say, I don't know who's down there, but they sound huge and possibly drunk, as they hear him through the chimney. So in this one, they go with Santa, and they're potentially going to go live in the North Pole. Remember, we heard stories about him when we were in the back alley scoring grams of catnip. Never mind. So that's where, the jokes again are a little bit edgier, but it's just talking about them scoring catnip. So I thought that was a funny joke. There's a bunch of funny jokes like that all throughout, and you can see the cartooning's great on all of these. And of course, by the end of the episode, it doesn't work out with Santa. I won't say why. Then issue 3, by the time I got to this one, I was thinking, okay, because of this problem of like this just seeming like an older structure that people would have a harder time leaning into. Does this ever have more of an expanded story that like would hook people? Like I think it's really good in your first couple episodes, first couple issues, show that you can tell a standalone story, and wrap it up just in case. Like Cerebus started that way, but start seeding stuff for a possibly larger world. I wasn't seeing anything that seeded a possibly larger world, but I was coming into this like, is this just another one and done, or does this grow into something bigger? And by the end of the issue, you at least get the suggestion that this is going to be a 2-episode story. Starts off again really, really sad, where there's this free kitties box out, and there's all these super cute kittens, and the Bumkats try and dress themselves up and pass themselves off as cute little kittens, but they still don't get taken. They eventually get taken by different people, so now they have different owners. Really fun scene here where Felton, the smaller of the two cats, is writing this like very nice letter to Trip, the tall skinny cat, and you hear the whole thing that's going on in his head that he thinks he's writing, and then you get a picture of what he actually put on the page, which is all these scribbles. So visually continuing to be very playful, a lot of good visual humor as well as narrative humor throughout. Here's some more really great cartooning and visual humor where this cat is going to work with the woman who took him, and he's just on top of her head while she's using a jackhammer and shaking, and you just love the cartooning all throughout that. But at the end, you get a to be continued, and then we have a next issue set up here. So that gives me hope that maybe this world will start to expand beyond just the basic, like, in and out premise of every issue, or at least be willing to tell longer stories, at least is interesting. But even without that, like, I don't think all things need that longer story. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that while I was reading it, I was wondering how marketable something like this is with this older structure. Can people still dip in, like, for an in and out? Or is it like, if that's all you're getting, then is there an incentive to come back for the next issue? In the world of, Netflix binging, where they're always trying to get you to come back for this larger story, like, can a dip in and dip out structure like this still work? I'm not sure. So it will be interesting to see as Brien and JR continue to go with this series, how they'll handle that. But really, really think that for what it is, this kind of in between of Ren and Stimpy and like a Tom and Jerry type of vibe, it's really nice. It has really great cartooning and a lot of funny jokes. It's a really great story structure that they have for the repetition, and it kind of just brings back nostalgia to me for being a kid watching like the Nickelodeon stuff. So I enjoyed it for all of those reasons, and I think most of the people that watch this channel will enjoy it for those reasons. So I'll put a link to where you can get these underneath and at the end of the video. So go check out yourself some Bumkats by Brien Hart and J.R. Gloyd. Centralia is an awesome, gorgeous comic by rising Dutch star Miel van de Peet. This is his first work. It's a really great sci-fi story. There's a world in the future where the sun has gotten so hot that people can't be on the ground, so they have to run around. There's a lot of conceits that go with that. What is the world that looks like? And I think you can see by the art that Sean's description of this book as like a Moebius for young adults, a YA Moebius, is a really great description of this really gorgeous and like wild, wacky, fun book.